Hey, lovelies, it's bold, badass business owners, and you may be wondering why Leah put those flowers back there. I don't know if they saw it. Leah McCullough here in the house had flowers in her teeth because she is quite the blooming entrepreneur. And in fact, you all, today we are so lucky to have Leah with us. She is known as the Fibro Lady because she has these incredible programs that help people relieve their fibromyalgia. And if you know anyone with fibromyalgia or you've had it, you know how crushingly painful it is. Well, see, here's the thing. Leah cut her teeth with all of this, and she became a coach. And she actually is a master coach with one of the big internet gurus, who we will not mention the name of, but we will say he is big, 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 big. And she is a master coach with him. So we're just thrilled today to have Leah McCullough in the house. And she's going to be talking about, and we're going to be talking about, is your target fuzzy? Because guess what? The only thing that should be fuzzy is shag carpet. So, Leah, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. It's so cool to be here.
I'm thrilled you're here. And, when you and I met, it was just this instant connection of twinsies.
I
Twinsies. You
know we have so
remember?
much in common.
Everything from like our interest in our work in real estate to being coaches to online marketing, just so many things that we have in common. And I'm just thrilled to have you here today. And I know that you have so much to share with us. And of course, we're just going to have fun. That is the whole thing, is we want to have fun and provide massive value to everyone watching. And you all who are bold, badass business owners, let me remind you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because you don't want to miss any of the guests who are coming on every Friday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. If you're in another time zone, translate that, all right? 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. Don't miss out. Subscribe, and then you will get to have all this incredible wisdom and training and expertise every single Friday. And in fact, it's okay if you want to have an adult beverage during our time, okay? So, Leah, I want to ask you, everybody starts with what's your story, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of find that boring. But I want to just ask you, what makes you the most excited in your work with people with fibromyalgia? I just want to ask you that.
Well, seeing them recover, like seeing I have so many people say to me, "Hey Leah, you gave me your life back," which is not true. They did all the work. I just kind of provided a roadmap and some supplies and things like that. But they say that to me, and it's
Mm.
like they get their life back where they didn't have it before. So that's super exciting. That's what keeps me going. That's what called me to it. And I've been recovered personally for 15 years this July.
Wow. I was
Yeah.
going to ask you that if this was something that grew out of you experiencing fibromyalgia and or seeing somebody you love with it. And that is just, I have two friends with it, and it is devastatingly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I was on Social Security disability and
Wow.
I couldn't work. I was in bed 16 hours a day, if not more. Um, I was on 12 different prescription medications. I had severe debilitating fibromyalgia and I completely turned my life around and I was like, I have to get this information out there. And it was I'm glad I didn't know then what I know now. How
Yeah.
hard it was to get the information out there. My book's been out for 10 years now,
Hmm.
this fall. And I'm coming out with a new book probably at the beginning of next year. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and it has maximized every facet of my personality to
Mm.
get this out here. Real estate's easy compared to this. Yeah.
I
And
totally
I'm an
feel the
investor in real
same.
estate too. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier, isn't it? Because it's not so close to our heart. It really doesn't feel that it's not like this big mission. You know, you make me, as you're talking, I'm thinking about what Dean Graciosi says about turn your mess into your message.
Right.
And
Right.
obviously this was part of what you did, is you took this really hard situation and this being in bed 16 hours a day and suffering pain, and I'm imagining feeling hopeless at times.
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, about the only thing that keep me from committing suicide was what it would do to my parents and my husband.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was so
That's
bad.
so powerful.
Yeah.
And you are not alone in that. So many people, I've heard that from my friends, it's like it's just sometimes it's just too much.
Right.
Um, and so truthfully, in the work you do as the fibro lady, you're saving people's lives.
I feel like I am, and they've said that to me. And but it's there's I can't get too much into that because then it gets so serious, like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
medical doctors, they have to keep pretty technical so they don't get into the weeds of their feelings. Not saying that I'm a medical doctor, I'm an educator. But I have to keep things a little more technical and look at the results. Okay, what are the results? You're getting your life back, you're getting out of pain, you're getting uh
You can keep up with your kids.
energy, keep up with your kids, play with your grandkids.
Yeah.
I Most of my clients, what I do is I say, okay, in about 6 months, I want you to go ahead and start looking at that trip that you've always wanted to go on, or sign up for a 5K. And
Mm.
whether they walk it or run it or what. And the bonus is if they get to the point where they're going to go and walk in a 5K, I'm going to do my best to actually show up and do it with them.
Oh my God, that's the
Yeah.
kind of person you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's you. It's like you're like me. You're gonna be, one time I hula danced on the front porch of one of my clients because
Ah!
she had, yeah, I did. I put on a grass skirt. I did have clothing under it. I'll just tell you that. And I just danced out there because she had gotten totally in this space of like fear. And we just love to go the extra mile so that people really achieve it. And I really appreciate what you're saying about set that goal of the 5K or the trip you've always wanted to take 6 months out, so they have something to look forward to and to work towards. That is so fabulous. So this is obviously, your great mission in life is sharing this information, and I can't help but think it's so divinely related to what we're talking about, because when your target is fuzzy, it means you're really not in touch with that deep mission on some
Right.
level, right? And
Yeah.
so what I'm hearing, just even without you saying it, and let me know if this is true, I'm hearing that this pain that you went through and this suffering was actually the huge instigator of your business and
Right.
what you're here to give the world.
Right. I felt like I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and I felt like there was some sort of promise involved with that because he kept
Mm,
saying what the seed of your struggle is actually your opportunity. Like your struggle,
mhm.
the seed from your struggle is the opportunity, and you will
Yes.
have as great of as opportunity as you had a struggle. I was sick for 18 years. I've been well for 15 years in July. So like things, and then I've taken that and I've made it into this amazing business. Like I said, maximize every part of my personality, but it's so much fun. But when I got well, I had to figure out like what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And
Mhm.
I said, well, what do I like to do? I like to meet people, I like to travel, I like to write, I like to do like graphics and things like that. So what could I do that would do that? And I think I was always a public speaker looking for a
Mhm.
subject. So
Uh,
I started out like I got my book together, I started speaking, and then I did this internet marketing. I did the first summit for fibromyalgia recovery in the world, and that was back in 2016,
mm,
and exploded my list. And then I did another one in 2017. I ran out of people to talk to that were doing anything interesting in that world. Um,
yes.
but in November of this year, we're having an event, and it's going to be so cool. It's called Fibro Day,
Mm,
and we're going to have a part in person, part live stream, and part like a regular telesummit where people are coming in for interviews later on that week. The content's going to be dripped, and it's going to be so amazing. It's like a fibro lollapalooza But it's all based on, I
Fibropalooza.
know, but it's like such like a sad subject, but somehow I make it fun because I just couldn't do it if it wasn't fun. And it's fun. It's focused on progress, focused on getting results, focused on getting your life back.
Yes, and so I like to take notes in the chat and just put a few notes up there. So I put turning your mess into a message, and looking within your own experience, especially your pain, is one of the first places that you can find your target, and you obviously have a really good niche or niche. How do you pronounce it?
I go back and forth. I'm weird that way.
I do too, because in the South we kind of say niche, like
Yeah.
hitch your horse, niche it. But the
It's your
actual
horse.
word niche your horse is niche. It is French, so that's
Yes.
correct pronunciation according to the Académie Française, right? But for us, we can choose either one. But you have such a good niche because you actually know where to find your people. And this, you all watching, is so important in your marketing. I see so many people trying to be generalists. And I certainly was when I started my business. I was a generalist because I was interested in networking and I was interested in this and I was interested in that, until I realized what I am is a creative marketing expert for small businesses and a women's expert, right? From my PhD in women's studies, that those were the things that I most cared about. And seeing women in six-figure and beyond businesses is like the marriage of the two. So it took me a while to figure that out, though. And I think people start out with this idea of, oh, I work with, the skincare people. I work with everyone who has skin. No, you don't. And in fact, you have a very targeted niche that is just waiting for you. And what would you say? How do you find them? How do you find out who they are?
Well, first of all, it's okay if your target is a little fuzzy. Like, get out there,
Mm-hmm.
start working. You'll dial it in, it'll
Yeah.
evolve. And even if you have it, like with me, my target market was kind of built in. I don't want to say I'm like was some genius about finding my niche, because I wasn't. I actually developed that later. I found that when I was working for this internet guru guy, that I was actually able to really pretty quickly and succinctly help people find a niche to help them get going. And so I got some notes, and I just want to let your audience know that if they want my slides from this, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not showing, but my notes from this, they can email me and I'll be happy to send them to them. It's a Google slide, so it's no big deal for
Beautiful.
me to send it to them. But I wanted to tell you the difference between a niche and a target market and an avatar as I see it. And this
Okay,
is
let
how
me
you can
pause you for a
dial in.
second and get your email. I want to just stick that in there. What
Okay.
email do you want them to email you if they want the slides?
It's Leah, Leah, at
Mhm.
thefibrolady.com. And
Gotcha.
everything I have is branded The Fibro Lady.
Okay. So tell us about this difference between the niche.
So I have a very specific niche. And like I said, I kind of fell into it, and it's worked out pretty well. But I have dialed it and refined it as I've moved along and evolved in my business. The business coaching is something I just really love. And I love seeing people being successful, and they're being called to that for a reason. And I love
Mhm.
being a part of the transformation like that. So, I thought I turned this off. But I turned off the ringer. That's ACDC is my ringtone.
Back in black.
That's right. So your niche is the big idea of what you want to do. It's the result of whatever your company offers. This is like that's the result people get. So you're going to sell a product, you're going to sell service, or you're selling some sort of transformation or a mix thereof, the product mix. And your customer is going to, when they buy into you, or they are going to get that result. That's the promise. So that's the niche. And so for an example, in my company, I help people naturally recover from fibromyalgia. My product mix is information like books and programs and speaking. I do coaching. So I do one-on-one and group coaching. And I have supplements and some other accessories like meditation CDs and things like that. And then the result is people recover from pain, fatigue, sleep disturbances, and they get their life back. So that's the niche. So that's the big idea. The target market, when you think about the target market, this is where you're spending your money and your resources. So this has to be defined by like demographics. So, the age, the gender, what their specific interests are. So with me, like women 35 to 64, fibromyalgia, interested in natural stuff, in the natural healing. So I use analogy of a dartboard. If you go to a bar and play darts, the bullseye is where the most points are. That's your target market. But you have the whole dartboard. If your dart lands anywhere on that dartboard, you're going to get points. So the rest of the dartboard are people who are just outside your target market. So for my example, if a man comes to me, I'm not spending my money advertising to men, but if a man comes to me, I'm going to help him. Or if somebody who's under 35 or over 64 comes to me, I'm going to help them. Now, outside of my target market, like in the next room in the bar, are like people I don't have programs for, or I can't easily build a program for, like say a smoker or somebody with diabetes. But adjacent or on the wall of the dartboard, I can help people who are interested in detoxification or cleansing. I can help, and I even have a testimonial on my website. I have a bunch of video testimonials on my website. I have somebody who had Crohn's, and it was gut healing and detox, and I helped her immensely. She lost 25 pounds without even trying. So,
wow.
Yeah. That's the dartboard. So that's your target market. If you think about a dartboard, some people, when they're first starting out, it's like ready, fire, aim. So you just send some darts out there, see what sticks. Okay. Some people do that. I don't want to do that because that's a lot of money and time and effort. So I just say, like, hit as close as you can to your bullseye. It might be one of the inner rings. And then from there, you might have to like really start dialing it in more just to really get, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time, and be patient. Like, all this isn't for waste at all. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about your avatar, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay. I love this dartboard image. Your bullseye is in the middle. That's your target market. But the rings around it are people you could help who they need cleansing, they need detox, they have some kind of health issue and they want their health to be better. I love that. I think that's genius. And the thing that, as you point out, when people just, throw stuff up there. I call it spaghetti marketing. They throw spaghetti against the wall and some sticks, but most of it doesn't. When you do that, you waste your marketing dollars, you waste your time, you get frustrated because you don't get the kinds of attention that you want because people don't know how to refer people to you.
Right.
So this is
Don't
the
go where you're
thing.
not
Yeah.
loved. Don't go where you're not loved.
I love that. I'm putting that in here. Okay, this is a gem. Don't go where you're not loved.
Yeah. And like in my case, so people who are interested in natural anything are not a good fit for my market at all, because they'll be like, well, I got to talk to my doctor. Well, the doctor's not going to do the research that I've done. The doctor didn't live what I lived through. You know what I mean? There's just, if they're all in the conventional mindset, they're not going to be. And the other thing is vegans. I have some stuff that does not have any animal products in it at all, but a lot of stuff I do. And people think, well, if there is a way to naturally recover, it's going to be a plant-based diet. And it's like, maybe that's outside of my expertise. So I just go towards the natural people. I go where I'm loved, and that's where I stay. And I stay in my lane with that real specifically. I stay out of politics. I stay out of other diseases. I stay in my lane.
Yes. And when you stay in your lane, here's the good thing. It's a lot harder to have an accident, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, when you advertise to people who are outside of your target market, they get insulted. And I don't know if you've ever experienced going into a store at the mall where you feel like, oh, I don't like this place, like
Mhm.
Aeropostale or something like that. The music's really loud and it's dark. You can't even see the clothes or the prices or the sizes, and everything's way too small.
Yes.
It makes
Yes.
you feel very unwelcome, right? That's like, because you're not their target market, lady. you know,
Yeah.
like,
Get the heck out. I
yeah,
know I went in a store like that at the outlet mall with my daughter and a friend of hers, and I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta get out of here. I feel like an old fuddy-duddy."
yeah.
But, yes, go where you're loved and don't go where you're not loved, and here's the truth of the matter, everybody watching, I want you to think about this. Your ideal client is a version of you at some point in your life. And it may be a recent version of you, or it may be a version of you as it is with you, Leah, who's, 15 years before when you were suffering with fibromyalgia. But your idea, or for me, it's the version of me 22 and a half years ago when I was struggling to build this business and did not have a business degree and was just taking classes as I could at the small business centers and, getting as many free resources as I could because I didn't have a training budget, right? That is my ideal person because I want them to monetize much faster than it took me to get to where I want to be. I want them to be at six figures and beyond super fast and not have it take all the time that it took me. So this is so important, you all, is to think about in your life, what has happened to you in your life that's been hard, that's been challenging, that has, maybe laid you up in bed for months on end, as in your case, Leah. What has happened in your life that has been tumultuous, and how did you get through it? And that is the client journey that you want to offer people, is that how to do it, because they want to be where you are now, but they don't have the knowledge. They haven't done they want the hacks. They don't want to have to do all the research you did. They don't want to have to wait all the time you did while you were doing that research. They want to have it quickly. So that's something for everybody. I want you, Jess, when you see this video, I want you, and those of you watching, I want you just to pop up in the comments something that happened to you that you are turning your mess into a message that can help others, that can change their lives, and you're offering that transformation.
I Oh,
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I used to watch, when I was sick, I used to watch a lot of TV, and there was this lady that was a preacher on there, and she would say, um, ashes, let's see, roses for ashes. And I was like, I had ashes, and now I'm
Mm.
getting, these aren't roses, but these are peonies. But like, I feel like, and I do this meditation where I send like all the negativity and things I'm worried about to God. And I was in meditation one time, I'm sending that off, and then all of a sudden, all these rose petals came down, and I was just
Mm.
like, oh, there's my roses for ashes.
I
There they
love
are.
that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
and you know, it's funny you should mention roses because I my daughter's so funny. She's like, "Mom, would you please stop asking my boyfriend to help you with something?" I said, "Well, honey, I just couldn't dig those two holes for those roses. He's strong."
Yeah, like
But
you're doing a son-in-law training.
yes, I am. That's what I'm doing. I'm training him up. Maybe not for you. Well, I hope not for you because you're just 16. But you
Oh,
know,
I didn't
I
know how
had
old she
these
was.
two, yeah, and he's super sweet. I had these two rose bushes that I had gotten. You'll laugh at Aldi of all places. Why they were rose bushes is Aldi. I
Oh,
don't know. And they
wow.
were really small. And I like to grow things and I do Reiki on them, Leah, but I
Oh,
don't know
cool.
anything about how to grow them. I have incredible plants in my house, but I don't know anything about plants. I just do Reiki on them and water them like once every week. So he dug the holes. We put the rose bushes out there. They were really little and they're growing so high. And this is like your business, you all. It really is like your business. When you first put that ragged little, sad little soon to be a bush and you don't know what's going to happen with it and you're looking at it and you're like, oh my god, how is this going to work? And that's why you've got to tend it, and you tend it by having coaching, you tend it by having support, you tend it by having a community, and then guess what, it starts growing, and then eventually you have the blossoms. It is an evolution, but tending it requires expert help. And that's why you want to have someone who guides you. So Leah, what would you say? So I've got a few things over here about what you've said already. Don't worry if your target's a little fuzzy. You're going to dial it in, keep going, just get started. Because,
Right.
People will procrastinate for eons saying, oh, well, I don't know exactly who my target is. Here's a way to figure it out. I'll just add this before you go on to your next point. And that is, you all look at who you're already giving whatever it is you love to give to. And maybe they're paying you, maybe they're not. And what is it you love about them? What do you appreciate about them? Just write a description of them. So maybe you have just a few clients, write a description of your favorite one, down to everything. That's the demographics that you're talking about, Leah. Like, what age are they? What gender are they? Where are they from? Are they spiritual? Are they political or apolitical? Are they, what are they animal lovers? My dog just burst in. Who are they? And figure that out. Do they travel? Where do they hang out? Ask yourself these questions, and not just the demographics, but also the psychographics. What is it that makes them tick? What really gets them excited? Is it meditation? Is it Reiki? Is it, what is it? Yoga? Is it, I don't know, drinking beer with their buddies? What are their, what are their psychographics that, the way their mind works? And the best way to figure this out, who your ideal person is look in the mirror. Look in the mirror or look in the past mirror, the mirror of you in the past. What do you think, Leah?
Well,
That makes
I
sense?
think this actually leads right into what I was going to say about an avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's some people who definitely all their clientele is the opposite gender because that's what they attract in their business.
Yep.
So, but I'd say 95% of the time, your target market looks a lot like you. I'd say that's actually the exception when it doesn't. Or it looks like you said, you from before you had this transformation. But when I think about an avatar, I was like, make it like who is your favorite customer, or who is your like imagined favorite customer, or a combination thereof. It could be a bunch of different people. It could be real and imagined people. That combination, it's helpful to write it down. And the reason you want to do this is because this is the person you're writing to. This is the person that you're promoting to. You're going to write them emails and posts and stuff like that. And Mortimer Adler, he was a famous professor from the last century, and he was talking about like the art of writing, and people really never learn how to write until they write a love letter. And you want to write basically a love letter to your avatar. You want to really dig in, and really, that's why it's important to have like on my camera, you can't see it because I'm looking at it. I actually have like little eyes painted on it that I drew on it, so I can like look people in the eyes because I want them to understand. I want to connect with them. So that's what I was thinking about. Like, so when you think about niche and target market and avatar, they all come together, and we can talk about in a few minutes, like how to bring that all together for dialing in.
I love that. I love your idea of the love letter to your avatar. And actually, I would say that's your marketing right there. Your marketing is a love letter to your avatar, because this person is feeling, they're in pain. It's usually pain that really motivates us to get going. We can market to pain. We can market to gain. We can market to both at the same time, or more to one or the other. But the thing is, it's pain that's really going to get somebody in there fast, like being in a whole heck of a lot of emotional, physical, mental, spiritual pain is going to move somebody. And so writing a love letter, your marketing is a love letter reaching out to that person to let them know there's hope, that they can experience change, they can get an outcome they want. So that's why it's such a beautiful image. I just love that. And, it can also be, I did this thing recently, Leah, where I wrote from the point of view of my client, here's what's going on. Like, here's
Right.
where I am
Oh, I like that.
before. And I just wrote down all the stuff. I feel frustrated. Bills are piling up. I don't know if I can create a successful business. My family doesn't support me. My spouse doesn't get it. My friends think I'm crazy. I just wrote all this. I'm thinking about getting a job. All the stuff that this person that I love working with, I'm thinking about giving up, the things they're saying to themselves. And, I found myself just tearing up as I did this,
Oh,
because I was like,
wow.
whoa, man, I remembered in myself the struggles I had in those first few years of business. So I would say to everybody, when you are tearing up writing that from the point of view of your person, you're really in touch with it. You're getting back in touch with that. And that is going to help you use the words, kind of the raw words for what it feels like
Right,
to be
right,
there,
right, right.
you know. No
Um,
jargon, y'all. None of that jargon shit. No bullshit jargon. Like, if you started talking about, imagine this, Leah. Well, in the exodus of the fibromyalgia virus from the T3 cells in the
yeah, that's
we
not gonna
all
work.
immediately cut off. What are your people thinking? They're like, I'm in freaking pain. How the heck do I get out of this so I can go travel with my grandkids to Walt Disney World?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, so there's, and revealing what happened to you is really important, but
Mm,
not revealing everything about you, but revealing about things that are pertinent to the information. I've seen people reveal like stuff about themselves that they're trying to attract an audience, and it's not pertinent. They're just
yeah.
oversharing. But like I
Yeah.
talk about in my talks, I talk about how I hit my rock bottom. I was I was on the floor crying, and I was in so much pain. I'd had it. I was crying. I was screaming. I was banging on the floor, but I had started on the bed, and the bed started shaking, and the bed was shaking so much it was making me seasick.
Oh,
So then
wow.
I went on the floor so I wouldn't throw up, and in my hour of pain and crying. And that's when my husband walked in. He found me on the floor crying and screaming and banging on the floor. And I didn't think I could sink any lower, but seeing him, seeing me, it broke
Mm,
my heart into a million pieces. And I would love to tell you that night we figured something out, but you know, people go on in these lives of quiet desperation.
mm,
Um, and if if I can help somebody, I know how I was and how terrible it was and all that. If I can help someone not have to go through that, I am there to do it for sure. But that, I mean, I'm having to reveal something very personal that happened to me, and it doesn't make me look good to say that. Like that I was crying so hard and I was so upset and desperate that I made myself seasick on my bed and had to move to the floor. Like that doesn't paint me in any kind of a good light. But it just shows you, like, that's not a story anybody could have made up. Like that is for real. And I really know how upset and how desperate and how frustrated they can be,
yeah.
you know?
Well, I would actually disagree with love and say that made you, that was just exactly what someone needed to hear. Like, you made yourself real. You were real. And there's far too much bullshit out there. You were real. And I personally, I say this all the time. I don't want to work with somebody who isn't where I want to go. And
Mm.
and if they are where I want to go, and they've actually done it, and they're not just talking about it, because
Right,
there's a
right.
lot of hot air out there, then I want to work with them. But you made it real, and you made it, this is the problem, I would say, for example, with psychotherapy. Oh, let's piss the psychotherapists
Oh,
off. You want to
man,
do it? Let's piss them
oh,
off.
good, because I have a lot to say about that. No, it
No,
did not help
no,
me.
let
But
me
so,
just say, okay, I'm just going to say that I think psychotherapy and counseling are great for everyone. I think that's smart. And then there comes a point where it's like I've told that same story over and over and over again. And this is why my counselor, yes, I have a counselor. I'm totally upfront about that. Thank God for her. She's also a coach. she's also a hypnotherapist. And so what's great is she doesn't just leave me with the old tired record. Who remembers records?
Right.
You
Oh yeah.
know, some of y'all are like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
You
really.
youngins. That's okay. Just look it up on YouTube. And she doesn't just leave me there. She asked me about, well, you know, where do you want to go in the future? She asked me and changes me my point of orientation from the past to the future. And that is a really good counselor right there. But the problem I think with psychotherapy is the psychotherapist keeps this distance, right? And it's therapeutic, right? And there are some reasons for that, and I get it. Maybe if you're dealing with somebody who's a sociopath or a psychopath or multiple personalities or something like that, but the point is here, it's like a feeling of they're superior, you know. And
Mm.
I really believe, and here we can go off on fake ass business coaches. All right. I want to hear the real deal from the people I work with. In other words, the people who coach me, and I have six different coaches,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I want to hear the real deal from them. I don't want the sugar coated, varnished, shellacked version. I want to hear the real deal, because when I need help and am in pain, that's what's going to reach me. And
Right.
your story of this, you know, moment of being on the floor and yelling and, you know, being sobbing, and your husband walking in, this is such a powerful point to everyone. When you're living a life of quiet desperation, either in pain physically, or you're not starting your business that you know you're supposed to be starting. Yes, I'm talking to you who's listening. Then if you're living that life, guess what? Your spouse is probably never, or your lover or your kids are never going to tell you this, but they're watching you and they're hurting because you're hurting. And so
Yeah.
if you won't make a change for yourself, then how about making a change for them?
Mm.
How about making a change for them? And this is why it infuriates me, actually, Leah, when people are like, I have to talk to my husband, or I have to talk to my wife, or I have to talk to my so and so, my best friend, or I like to say my dog. I have to talk to my dog. When they use that kind of excuse, and yes, it's important too, but the real thing is that this person is watching, and whether they'll admit it or not, they're wishing they could fix the situation that your prospect is in. They're wishing they could fix it. And they're getting extremely frustrated by watching you not go for it. I just want to say that. What do you think, Leah?
I want to riff on that. So, and I'm going to expand it. So, in my
Good.
world, I say you absolutely owe it to your family and anybody who cares
Yes.
for you to be as healthy as you possibly can be. You got to take responsibility for your health. It's not your doctor's job, it's your job, because you're the main person who is suffering the consequences of you not being healthy, but your family is
Yep.
also suffering. So, but let's take that a step further to where Bonsley's world is. You absolutely owe it to yourself and anybody who cares about you and anybody who would be affected by it to be as successful as you possibly can,
Yep.
to be as impactful as you possibly can. Now, people are impactful in different ways. You know, like the kindergarten teacher, believe it or not,
Yeah.
almost everybody remembers their kindergarten teacher's name, but they don't remember their fourth grade teacher's name, right? Right. So like that person is having a huge impact, but they're not online, they're not owning a business or whatever. That's cool. But you have absolutely to be successful in whatever it is that you're called to do specifically. Like you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people who are going to be impacted by you. And you owe it to your family to be like, have this sense of fulfillment.
And guess what? When you become successful and you're not holding back and hesitating and worrying about all this stuff, like, oh, what will happen if I start a business, or what will happen if I do this? When you stop, the moment, this is what I say to people, the moment you make a decision in spite of fear, and fear is a good sign, it means that you really care. The moment you
Mm-hmm.
make that decision, guess what? Your body immediately begins to fortify itself. And I can get on, say, for example, a coaching call. I call them power hours with my clients, Leah, and I might not feel good, but I've only told them ever once, and that was because I felt nausea. And I said, you all, I'm just going to let you know if I need to go for a second, I'll be back because my stomach's a little upset. I wanted to let them know so they didn't think I was offended by something they'd said and ran out the door. But the truth of the matter is that when you get really focused, everybody, when you get focused on something you want, then your body, the cells of your body immediately start to heal and fortify you. And all of that begins to work. And actually, on a chemical level, dopamine starts to be released in your, the feel good hormone, serotonin. These things start to be released in your body, and your cortisol levels come down, which means that you're not just in the state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And this is so important because when you get focused on your niche market and you are like on your mission, you become unstoppable. You do. If you're in the right thing, would you say?
Well, yeah. When you make a decision, doors start to open, opportunities pop up. And there's some clarity there. That comes together. And I just wanted to talk about like we talked about the niche and the target market and the avatar. And a lot of times people think they're synonymous and everything. And I kind of broke it down to how I see they're different. And I wanted to kind of talk about how I put them together.
Thank you. Yes. Let's go there before we start wrapping it up. That's so helpful. And would you just real quickly summarize how you distinguish between these three things one more time, just in case somebody didn't see the first part?
So the niche is like the overall picture, the overall transformation or result. The target market is specific demographics for like where you're spending your money at for like ads or resources. Who are you targeting? The bullseye, center, and the dartboard. And then we talked about the analogy of the dartboard, like, well, even if you don't hit the bullseye, you can still make money. Like you can still help people. And then the avatar is that person, whether they're real or imagined or a combination thereof, that you're writing to, that you're talking to, that and I suggest send them love letters, like really dig down deep and really with your whole heart communicate with them. So that's how I see those as different. And then when we're putting it together, like what is the big issue, the big thing that you do? And I just, as an example from my business, I help people recover from fibromyalgia, and I use the word recover, like recover completely, not feel a little better, but still your life's shitty. No, recover.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then what is it about that problem that is so painful that people will actually like get out of their internet haze, stupor, and click, or even better than that, will actually spend money to solve it? What would have been worth to you, Barnsley, to have the information and knowledge that you have now 15 years ago, and you could have had a shortcut of 12 years?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
That's the thing that drives me. That's the thing that drives me, is like, I needed me as I am now then.
Exactly.
Yep.
So when I think about like what is the pain, it's pretty easy in my world. They're literally in pain. they'll take action on something they think that will help them get out of pain. Yeah. And then what does your avatar perceive as a really kind of a big issue? This is the keys to the kingdom I'm giving you right here. So what does your avatar perceive as a big issue, but it's kind of a small issue that you can fix pretty quickly, that you can help them with pretty quickly? That's the keys of the kingdom. And once they're in your world and you've helped them with that small issue, you can build on that to actually get to the root of the problem and get them going. So an example of my business, I can help them pretty quickly get some alleviation of pain. But then once they get into my world, then we're talking about all the other stuff. We get to the root of the issue and they actually recover. So I can't recover them quickly and easily, but there's an aspect of the big picture that they perceive as a really big deal, and everybody around them perceives as a really big deal, that I can fix pretty quickly and easily. So what is it about the big idea that's a painful thing for them, a big painful thing for them, that you know what, if I get in there, I can turn that around pretty quick. Then there's trust built, and they can come in and we're work on the root of the issue together.
You know what, Leah? That is genius. I just put it over there. What does your avatar perceive as a big issue, but you can actually fix it quickly and you don't see it as big. And this, everybody, is how you bring them in the door to your world, to what you have to offer. I just love that. I started this thing and I'm still messing around with the time, Leah, but I called it the 10 at 10. And then I realized, not everybody's up at 10 like I am. I'm a night owl. And then I changed it to like the 9 at 9, and I'm playing with the 8 at 8. So it's 8 minutes of coaching at 8 or 9 at 9 or 10 at 10. And these are questions that people submit. And they're the questions that are really important to them at that moment. But when I look at these questions, I'm like, this is not what they need. I know the system they need. That's what's in my mastermind. But this is important to them. And I can easily coach them on it and just give them like the poo-poo platter, the taste of it all, right? And
Okay,
I mean,
platters.
P-U, poo-poo, not poo-poo like
like
poo-poo.
the poo-poo platter. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like 11. And I was like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah. And so we want the PU, the Chinese
I know.
restaurant one. You got that. Yeah. Or the smorgasbord. You give them a little taste of everything, the little tiny taste of each thing
the
on the buffet. The smorgasbord. There's a good, German word. We're just going all over with our words today. That's really, really, really great because people get engaged that way and they're watching and they're wanting to see what you'll say. And then when you post it elsewhere, I've had people like, oh, I want to know about fundraising for nonprofits and how I can also use sponsorships in my business. So they just go look at the Facebook Live. It's up there. It's all up there, but they're coming into my world that way. And then when they're in our worlds, then you can really do something that, is going to be the thing they need step by step, the process, the system they need, So I love this. This is really genius. What do they perceive? And how do we figure that out, Leah? How do we figure out what is really bothering them?
Well, a lot of times it does take some experience, but if if you're a reflection of your target market, you're going to probably be able to know that pretty quick. If your first 8 to 10 clients are, first of all, they should pay you because a client who pays you is a totally different person than a client who doesn't pay you. But they bring in so much information and intelligence. They bring in intelligence for like what's going on with them right now. They bring in efficiency. So once you've done things with 10 people, process with 10 people, you're going to be super efficient. And the other thing is you're going to have all kinds of information for marketing. So I definitely suggest really start to work with people and start getting them in, and you're going to find out what pulled their trigger, what inspired them to work with you, what inspired them to click on you, or how it is you're marketing. And you'll find out. And I just I kind of wanted to say a few things to give people some hope, even if they feel like, man, I can't dial this in. And give them some ideas to think about going forward with that too.
I love that. And I want to add something to what you said. So you need to ask what they perceive as a big problem. And I would say too, about what you just said, listen on social media. Listen to the problems people are talking about. Get on the forums in your area, the fibromyalgia forums, or for me, the women in business forums. Get in those groups and listen to what's really bothering people. And that is going to be so much more important because it really doesn't matter what we think is going on with them. We need to hear from them. So we've got to become really adept listeners. And sometimes I will admit, it can be hard. And I think this is true for all of us. Once we've gone through a transformation, we can get out of touch with how it was before the transformation. And so it's what I call
that's a problem for me too.
Beginner's mind, right? I love it when I train people in Reiki. And I love that, Leah, because I get to see, and when they're in Reiki 1, I just get to see them light up. And it reminds me because I took Reiki back in 1992. So it reminds me, I'm like, oh God, it puts me back in what they call beginner's mind in Zen Buddhism, so that I can really see it with the wonder and the questions and the skepticism and some of the other things that they have that I've forgotten about. So I would say to everybody, make sure you listen to where people are, because we can be out of touch with it, especially if we've been out of that transformation we're offering people for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to just leave people some hope. It's okay to start fuzzy, get started,
Yes.
and you can date your niche. You're not have to be married to it. But the things to look at are other people making money and making a profit with your target market. Being a trailblazer is actually not very profitable, but so you have to look at, like, okay, am I making headway? Do I need to make a few tweaks? Make sure you give it a decent shot. You might be 3 feet from gold. And if you're called to do something, there's a reason. And
Mm,
everybody told me that my target market sucks, and but I'm called to do it. And now I feel
mm.
like I'm a fish in a small pond. I'm a
Yeah.
medium-sized fish in a small pond, and I'm making it go for it. And I'm also observing, well, what are the big fish doing? So I'm also observing that as well. So yeah, I know I'm called to do this, and I know why, because there's people out there who are, potentially thinking about suicide as a way out, so, like, I know how important it is what I'm doing. Um, and the thing is that, like I said, yeah, people live in quiet lives of quiet desperation for all kinds of
Hmm.
subjects.
Yes.
And just continue to dial it in, and you might just be a few tweaks away, and you're going to be successful.
I love those words of hope and wisdom. And, you've just given us so much. I've taken so many notes over here, Leah. And, you know, I just want everybody listening and watching to hear what she said. When you dial in, it doesn't matter if your niche is really small, because how many people are on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
Million, right? Or something crazy. I don't even know. But
Almost 8 billion.
yeah, almost 8 billion. We're billion ever since COVID, because everybody was bored. The numbers went up a lot. Yeah, the numbers went down, but they also went up. And so you all think about this. She is focusing on fibromyalgia, and those people who are saying that's not going to work, that's so dumb, because where do you go? When you have your target market, you look for the groups that are focused on fibromyalgia. You look for the support groups. You look for the associations of doctors and healthcare workers who serve people with fibromyalgia. You look for things like
Well, quit
autoimmune.
telling my competition what to do. Now, there's no competition. But
Yeah,
I'll tell you
there is
what, in a
no
world where
competition,
there
because
is,
there's no Leah, and there's no,
that's
I
right.
call it the Barnsley. There's no one like you, and there's no one like me. And the very fact that you'd be real and you'd come on here and share. I mean, I just appreciate you so much, even more than I did before,
Aw,
because yeah,
me
because you just put it
too.
on the line. You just said, "Look, I was at this moment. I didn't want to live." And I really believe that there's someone on here who needs to hear this. And maybe it's not about fibromyalgia for them, but it's
Mhm.
about just realizing there was that moment. And guess what, Leah? I had that moment too in my life, in a different way, not because of fibromyalgia,
Right.
but I had a moment where I just hit this depression that just suddenly, like, I just didn't want to be on the planet.
Mm. Oh my
And
goodness.
it changed my life. And I knew I wasn't gonna hurt myself. I was real clear, but there were certain things that I did that I knew I was still healthy, because I told people. I told a dear friend who suffered from
Yeah.
depression, because I had never experienced that. Like, that I never experienced that. And so I reached out, and thank God I had people who were real around me, who didn't judge me, but were just like, yes, I think everybody feels that way at some point or another, and here's what we need to do. And what you shared, the vulnerability you shared, lets people know that you're not alone, folks. You're not
Mm-mm.
alone.
Mm-mm.
And in fact, I was just reading something, Leah, about suicidal ideation and teenagers, and
Mhm.
the numbers are
Oh, that's super
huge.
scary. Yeah.
It is super
Yeah.
scary, and not just teenagers, adults too. But this particular article was about teenagers. And so those of you listening, whatever quiet desperation you may have in your life, and I really like the way you put that, Leah, we all have those moments, don't we?
The dark night of the soul.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's dark months.
Well, it was in my case, I was in bed for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I look back on it. I don't know how we got through it. I think the biggest part is because my husband. I mean, he is such a great guy, and
Oh,
he got me through it. And then recovering, of course, then you come out on the other side. But I mean, there was no hope. There was no. I mean,
yeah.
I said my short term goal is to give people hope that they can actually
Yeah.
alleviate a lot of this, and that recovery is possible. That's my short term goal in this work that I'm doing. But I just the world needs coached. Coaching is the greatest force for good on the planet. One of the
Yeah.
greatest forces for good on the planet right now. You wouldn't dream of seeing an Olympic athlete walk off the field without
Yeah.
2 or 3 coaches with them. So why is it that we think that we want to like pursue some sort of big dream, go from zero to $100,000 a month, and we don't need anybody to help us? Like that's crazy, right?
It is crazy. And I think we can all say we've been there too. We've at
Oh
moments in our
yeah,
life where we thought we could do it, and or we were afraid, and or we were trying to, as I did, trying to piecemeal it together because, really I didn't have there wasn't a second income. There wasn't a
right,
safety net for me
right.
when I started. And actually, it's so true, you all. I just want to say to you, you may think that this thing that is so horrible that happened to you, well, I want you to ask yourself something. How did it gift me with
Hmm.
something irreplaceable? Because I got really clear about something recently. It was, I was thinking, well, why did I was looking at some of the people I know who have husbands who are the breadwinners, and they can just really build a business, however they want. And it doesn't really matter if it ever gets bigger. But,
Me.
I was
Yeah,
hungry. I
yeah,
was hungry, and
right.
literally I was hungry. I needed to put food on the table, and I was hungry spiritually and mentally for success. And I was thinking about how that really is the kernel of my success. It's that seed, it's that thorny rose bush that grew. Because if I'd not had that, then I would not have kept going.
Oh, I
Really.
bet. I bet
Yeah.
your business is a lot more profitable and all that stuff than mine because yeah,
No, no,
I
no,
could
no, no.
well, I mean, because I've been able to like I reinvested everything and I didn't pay myself, which was a huge
Mm,
mistake. Huge mistake.
mm,
And then my
mm.
husband's all like, "Hey, why aren't you making any money?" Well, I reinvested everything and then I wasn't making any money, right? So, uh, yeah,
But that's
I
different
think
when you are investing in yourself. I just have to say that's different.
mhm,
And you're also running a real estate business too. So,
right.
and you're working for this internet guru. So, you can only do so much, Leah,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Only so many pieces of Leah to go around.
and the thing is, I mean, everything that you've done has turned to gold. And so, for some of us, I believe, and this is interesting because this is like the anti-niche, right? Let's talk about the anti-niche for a second.
Right. The
In a
generalist?
sense, right. Well, I want to say that you can kind of be an anti-nicher too, or nicher, anti-nicher, because
Sounds like an anti-itcher.
it sounds awful. Because you do real estate and you work for this internet guru and you have your business. And I too have several things like real estate, my business, and Airbnb, and they
Okay.
actually all feed each other. But some people would be like, how can you do all that? But that's me. I like all
Yeah.
of it. I
I
like all of it. And if something goes down, like an asswipe tenant I have right now is probably not going to pay me rent in her
oof.
particular unit this month. But if something goes down, guess what? Something else goes up. And I would say to everybody listening that you want to make sure that you have other sources of income other than just one thing in your business. One thing.
Right.
Now,
Right.
yours is wonderful, fibromyalgia, because I don't think it's ever going to go away with all the toxins in our environment.
Nope. Nope.
But
And it's
look for
global.
Exactly. But look for people who like focused on making record players, going back to records. Well,
Well,
guess what? They're
they probably
obsolete.
pivoted. Yeah.
They
What
had to
I was going to
pivot.
say was even in my business, so I have multiple streams of income in my business. I have multiple ways of multiple kinds of people learn in different ways.
Yes.
So I have different ways of reaching people. I have different ways of marketing, and now I've added to my product mix business coaching to a
Yep.
small extent. I have accountability coaching that I'm a certified accountability coach,
Mm-hmm.
and then so I've added a couple of business people to my product mix. I don't market it though or anything like that. You know, we're talking here, but if somebody wants to reach out to me, that's okay. But I really if they want it, if they were just beginning, maybe, but it's mostly I don't I don't do that. Mostly I help people recover from fibromyalgia, and I actually now coming this fall, I'm helping people become certified fibromyalgia recovery coaches and helping them
Nice.
get set up in business. So I'm actually kind of making my own competition, but I don't care. There's so much work to be done
Yes.
that we need more people to do it. And so whether they're going to be a coach working on my team or they're going to be doing it off on their
Mm-hmm.
own, whatever is cool. It's going to be um, when you lift up other people, like the high tide raises all ships.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I always say when one of us rises, all of us rise.
Yes,
It's such a
exactly.
beautiful image. And you know, the thing with fibromyalgia, and I know we need to wrap it up, but the thing with fibromyalgia is that you've usually, people who have fibromyalgia have gone to doctor after doctor after doctor, and they've been told things like, it's all in your head.
Oh yeah.
Or, oh, you just have a little arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, you just need to do the anti-inflammatory diet. They
Oh,
have been condescended to over and over and over again by the conventional health establishment, unless it's someone who really specializes in fibromyalgia. And, you know, it's that thing where people were, you know, chronic fatigue for so long, people didn't believe it even existed. It was kind of seen as the equivalent of hysteria in the
mm-hmm.
19th century
Mm-hmm.
for women,
Mm-hmm.
that this suddenly, you know, this thing that's all made up in their heads. And so we have to realize that when you're creating your niche, look at what's out there and look for the gaps. All right?
Right.
Look at what's out there and then look for the gaps in that. And that's what you're doing, is you're providing something that they're not going to find elsewhere. And I think that's so powerful. So you all,
Can I
what
add
final
something to
words
that, to the
of, do you have
gaps?
like a freebie for them, like a free something?
Well, okay. If they're interested in like discovering their niche, please
Mm-hmm.
email me. I'll send you my notes from the slides. Okay. And
Okay.
there are Google slides, Leah, Leah at thefibrolady.com. I have a YouTube channel. I have a website. On my website, I have tons of information. It's free. I have video testimonials. I have written testimonials. Like people sending me snapshots from them on their vacation that they took when they recovered. And I have a Facebook group, Freedom from Fibromyalgia, Natural Recovery, I think it's called. It's a big blue butterfly on there. I have a book. It's on Amazon, Freedom from Fibromyalgia, 7 Steps to Complete Recovery by Leah McCullough. And I think that's
Freedom from
it.
Fibromyalgia is the name of the Facebook group.
Freedom from Fibromyalgia, Natural Fibromyalgia Recovery, because there's more than one Freedom from Fibromyalgia Facebook group. The Fibro Lady Facebook page. Yeah, Leah McCullough, Leah Jones is my Facebook name because my maiden name's Jones. And
Gotcha.
yeah,
Natural what, for give it one more
natural
time. So
fibromyalgia recovery.
recovery.
Yeah, and it's like a greenish
Dot, dot,
blue
dot.
butterfly on
Okay.
the
So that way they can find you, because there are going to be other groups on freedom from
yeah.
fibromyalgia, because it's
But if
so
you want my
nicely
notes,
alliterative. Freedom from fibromyalgia.
yeah.
So
Well,
I
there's
love
2
that.
books with that name. Mine's 7 steps. The other book is 5 steps. But
Aha.
I researched it. I never did find that book, and then once I published my book, then that book became noticed by me, and I was like, well, you can't copyright a title for a book, so.
Oh, well. Well, listen, Leah, you have been so wonderful to have here. And I want to encourage everybody to email if you want the slides that we didn't use.
That's okay.
Because I don't slides. I think they're boring. We really want to have a conversation with stories and, keep you all entertained, which I hope you have been. I know we've gone for over an hour and it went like
Oh,
that for
wow.
me. Yeah, heck yeah, that was so
Oh, wow.
fast.
That's cool.
And I want you to join our Facebook group or share it with somebody who has fibromyalgia. And I want you to join my Facebook group, Women in Business Make It Happen. Women in Business Make It Happen, because we do. And I also want to ask that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and prevent me from needing to strip down, paint myself Carolina blue, and run down the highway, which is what I've said I'll do if I don't have 1,000 subscribers by June 20th. So
What's your
the,
YouTube
the
channel?
pressure's on. YouTube channel is just Dr. Barnsley Brown. That's it.
Okay.
At Dr. Barnsley Brown. And just please subscribe and share it. And guess what? What time do we have an interview? Every Friday, you all, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, filled with nuggets, words of wisdom, inspiration, stories of hope, and just fun too, like crazy fun and some cussing too sometimes. Come, y'all, and share it with people who are sitting back thinking, oh, I really want to start that business, but
Mm-hmm.
I need to keep money coming in and I need the benefits of my job. Oh my God, that's another discussion. Or they're just like, oh, well, I've got my business going, but I don't know if I can sustain it. And I really may need to go back to work I hate. I
Oh,
want you to recommend this to those folks, because this is just a bunch of valuable interviews that can keep your friend and keep you going in business,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it is not for the faint of heart. And what I know is you would not be here with us today unless you were a bold, badass business owner. So, Leah, I want from one bold, badass business owner to another bold, badass business owner. How many B's can I use? I want to thank you for coming, because you have given us so much wisdom, and I just appreciate you. You're one of my twinsies in the world, and we'll have to have you back in the future.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Like and
Thank
share
you.
it, y'all. Okay, thanks, Leah. Like and share. Like and share. Bye.
Bye.